He announced it. He surprised everyone during his 60th, or was it 60? No. What? He announced it during his 80th? I think he announced it during his 8th. Oh gosh, I can't remember.
It was a little bit of a bittersweet moment because somehow you always say, wait, part of that is my inheritance and it's being donated.
I remember it quite clearly. It was a big surprise to the entire family when he announced that he would donate 50% of his ownership of the company to the foundation. When we found out about it on his 75th birthday,
I am not surprised. He will give something for sure, but not 50%. But he says simpler to calculate 50%.
The foundation is currently the biggest shareholder of the JG Summit. It owns 28% of the company. And I think if the business do well, then foundation will do well. And if the foundation do well in getting the country education to improve and develop the country, the JG Summit Group will also do well as a benefit of the economic development.
My dad, he really loved this country. And he felt that it was because of this country that he became successful. And he felt that he had to give back to the society after what society had given to him. And he said he'll do it through the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation, or the GBF. And it's supposed to support kids who cannot afford to go to school. And he said for this country to improve, they have to industrialize. And so the GBF now focuses on STEM: science, technology, engineering, and math.
So this is like the two strands of like what we call DNA of the group. If JG Summit grows, the GBF will have more resources for education. This is a symbiotic growth. One needs the other.
I think we were quite surprised, but at the same time, very proud of this gift.
I think he only told my mom. He probably told, I don't know who he mentioned it to. But we were caught by surprise, but we were so happy when he announced it.
After an initial reaction, and then you feel quite sweet, quite proud, quite gratified that you have a father and mother, obviously, who were willing to contribute so much to a cause greater than themselves, which is really the foundation. Hopefully will make an impact on the Philippines.
I felt that it was very generous, which is why we were very proud, because of the size of it and what it would mean for education in the country.
The beginning is a smaller percentage, but he put a very significant part of his holdings into the foundation. That will also make sure that the JG Summit's control and benefits of the fruits of the JG Summit success will be the foundation, which will also lead to the greater budget for the educational development of the country.
He's always been a man of principle, man of his own independent thinking. And his belief was that to improve a person's life, you do not give a man fish, no, you teach the man to fish. So he had a core belief that education was important and that everyone should have an equal opportunity to receive a good education. It's his way of saying what's important is the longevity of the business now. The business is not here to serve the family is here to serve the business.
All the brothers like education, especially Mr. John. He's a self-learner. He loves education. Because my father died so early, he didn't have that opportunity to have formal education in the beginning. So a lot of that is his passion for learning. And so we thought the best way to help the country is through education. We can build up the capita income of the country by training them on all the different skills to help a developed economy. We want to make sure that this foundation will do the greatest good for the country to have it dedicated to education.
What I lost was I had to stop my violin lessons. I had to stop my Chinese lessons. And in school, I had a lot of friends because my father had 11 movie houses, and I always bring them in. I lost some of my friends because I couldn't bring them to the movie house. But when he died, my mother realized that he had mortgaged everything, and well, everything was taken from us, including our house. That was the most painful thing. Was the house. I lived there for 12 years.
My father, he came from a very difficult childhood.
His father died when he was 13. The family had to go back to China because they couldn't afford to stay here. At least there was family there.
Mr. John and my dad were only 1 year apart. And I think if any of the brothers, it was my dad and him who grew up together. So I think they shared a lot of experiences. These guys lost everything when they were 12. And nothing beats that, right? Maybe that's why these two are always so calm. It doesn't matter how bad the business is or how the market collapses. And our house burned down in '94, and then the office at Libis. It just dawned upon me. It was always, what's the next step? It's never that bad. It's resilience. Bad things will happen, right? And it doesn't always work out the way you plan it to.
I believe he always had purpose in his life. When his father died when he was 13, his purpose was to support his family. When he was able to build a business, then his purpose was to provide great affordable products to the consumers. As the business grew, he wanted to start helping the country. It was like the apex already of that life of purpose. So from helping his family to helping society, this was really in line with the man I knew. I know.
He always had foresight. I think since my father died, he's always that compass to take care of the family. And from that, he built a company that the family can work together. And then when he get to a certain size, he start thinking of the community, of the country. How to make this venture that get all the family members to work together, to create something good for the family, good for the country. Yeah.
It's really just proud of where he came from. That he was able to raise himself from humble beginnings and overcome adversity during a very difficult time, Second World War, and really pull himself up.
Mr. John is really a very special person. I will never take for granted that opportunity to have worked with him and to have worked directly with him. It's a rare privilege to watch him in action, to see how dedicated he was, how focused he was on things that were important to him.
I think most people, including myself, learn by observation. It's like my dad's main focus was really building the business, being an entrepreneur. And that's why there's the risk-taking there, because you're not punished for making mistakes. I think you're punished for not making the effort.
He was really hands-on. You know that you're entering into a fight together. So he has your back, he'll defend you. If something goes wrong, he really talks about it and says, what did we do wrong? What can we do right?
But he never imposed on people. I think I worked with him for 56 years, and I don't think he ever tell me what to do. He might make suggestions, or he might create an environment for you to. I think you never have to say you're sorry for making a mistake. As long as your intentions are good, you try your best. I love working with John because we get to do many things, learn many things. You work hard, you sweat a lot, you sacrifice but it's also a lot of fun. So it's a great journey.
He was supportive because some of it are his ideas, right? He wanted to make it succeed also. He saw my success as his success. He wanted me to succeed because in the end, it was also him succeeding and the group succeeding.
He really had a lot of vision, courage. He believed in the ability of entrepreneurs to make a difference. So I think he's really a classic entrepreneur, no? Someone who's really a catalyst for change. The idea was to really allow the common man to have access to all kinds of goods and services, that this should be democratized for. He did that for airlines, for mobile phones, for snacks and beverages, just these comforts of life, or these basics of life should not just be for a small minority, but should really be available to all.
I think he's always had that desire to make a difference. He doesn't have to say it, no? You can see it with the way he lived his life. He was always not afraid to be different. He didn't care what other people thought about him. He just did it. He competed against the Goliaths. He put up an airline to compete with an incumbent airline. He put up a mobile phone company to compete with two giants. He was never afraid to compete. He would do things because he thought it was the right thing to do.
He was always very clear. He was always very decisive, which I think is what everybody appreciated. He left no room for doubt of what direction the business was supposed to go. His leadership was very clear.
If you take a look at it, go through the management principles, I think he was really very good at executing it. I don't think he had an idea of what it was called, right? He was quite good at scenario building, trying to understand what could happen. He wasn't big on reports. He would rather just sit down and talk to you and pick your brain. That was his style.
Working with him talaga, it rubs off on you. It makes you want to be passionate, hardworking. It wants you to have integrity. Those values that are often used to describe Mr. John are really true.
Yeah, I think he's inspirational to everybody around him. He worked pretty hard until midnight every day, if not later. When he retired, it's not as well as when he was younger. But he still worked about midnight. Even at the hospital, he wants to look at the financial statement. That's what makes him happy.
I always so impressed with his continuous learning. Even when he was 90, he's still trying to learn. Sometimes he would call me up to say whether I know something. so it's, I think he never stopped learning. He's very strict and disciplined on himself. He always have long-term visions of things. He often tells me that if my father did not die early, his dream was to be a doctor.
One thing I really appreciated with him was he was always down to earth. He was always very respectful. Of course, when they were wrong, he'd get mad, right? But that's something I think that happens to everyone. He has a reputation for just blowing up sometimes. But he also has a reputation for being very nice to them. People understood that it was really genuine emotions coming from him.
I remember I had done something really bad at work. One of my magazines had an event. Something scandalous happened in the event, and there were so many reporters. It appeared in the tabloids the next day, and I was so horrified that I had embarrassed the whole family. I remember I woke up early for breakfast because I wanted to, explain what had happened. I was there, and he came, and then he took his newspapers, and I said, "Dad, can I talk to you?" And he said, "Sure." I said, so I explained to him what happened. And then he says, "That's not a problem." Then he went back to his newspapers. And I think I realized, based on his experience, this thing was small. It wasn't something I should worry about. And just by saying that, I realized there are bigger problems to worry about. He's very practical, he's very upfront. He won't say, "Oh, come on." He's not like that. Like, "I empathize with you, tell me more." He's not like that. He'll just tell you what he thinks. And I derived a lot of comfort from that.
My dad, he never looked down on people. There was one time he had to go on a trip abroad, and he had this bag of money, and he had forgotten to deposit it or put it in a vault. So he gave it to me and told me to keep it and then give it back to him when he comes back. After 1 week, and of course it's in my closet, he came to me saying he had to apologize to his janitor because he thought that he left the money in his office and the money disappeared. And of course, a poor janitor is always the one accused by everybody of taking things, right? And it just dawned on him after 3 days that he had left the money with me. So he called the janitor to the office and really apologized profusely to the janitor. My dad, if he commits a mistake, he will really apologize, whoever you are. I remember when I was a kid and I had to do summer work at the old URC office. He told his secretary, "Call up Mr. Katipunan of PCIB." And the secretary said, "I don't know Mr. Katipunan. Cannot be. What do you mean you don't know Mr. Katipunan? I've been dealing with him for so many years. So she goes out and says, anybody here remembers Mr. Katipunan? Nobody. Then he got mad. Then one of them said, sir, hindi Mr. Katipunan. Si Mr. Bonifacio yan. So, ay, mali. So nag-sorry na naman kasi ang lakas ng boses niya. He was so mad at everybody for not remembering who Mr. Katipunan was.
No, I've seen him get angry at people, right? But fortunately for me, I've never been on the receiving end of any major trouble. I don't want to get into trouble.
When we were growing up, we were scared of him because he was this big man with a very, very loud voice. I remember he would order us around, get me a glass of water, get me a slice of cheese, cut my nails, stuff like that. No. But he was always focused on reading and finding out what's new.
Of course, Mr. John would have a booming voice, and people would be scared whenever his voice would come up, right? But it was always in context, so it was never personal. So he would always be fair, and he'd always talk about what can be done. So it was always a productive and constructive meeting with him.
He was already big in the first place. And then his voice was so loud. Even if you were at the end of the room, you could hear what he's saying. And it would be so loud, sometimes it would be so funny.
There was once we got into a big fight. I remember when I was in high school, Hershey's chocolate was very hard to get. It was given to me by a friend. And so I saved it and put it in the refrigerator. When I went there to retrieve it, it was half gone. So I was so angry. I said, who ate my Hershey's? And he said, I did. And so we got into this big argument. And I said, I own this piece of chocolate. You had no right to eat it. And he said, this is my house. If you don't follow my rules, then leave. And so I packed my clothes and I called my friend, can you pick me up? So we did talk for 3 months. It was so funny. I was so hard-headed. And I was expecting him to apologize. But in the end, why would he apologize to me? He had the right to eat that piece of chocolate. And so when I got older, he would always bring that up and we would laugh about how funny that was. He was the typical traditional father. He was the man of the house. What he said went. I don't think he needed charm.
He would laugh and I cannot even remember why he'd laugh. Gosh, I cannot remember, but he'd just laugh I cannot remember.
My dad and my mom, they know how to laugh at themselves. So almost anything they'll find just amusing or something to be happy about. There's a Gokongwei sense of humor, or even among the cousins, it's very self-deprecating, very bakya. So I think that's probably from my parents, no?
When he was getting heavy, he doesn't feel like walking, and I bought an electric chair for him, and he played like a toy, and you see his face smiling and very happy that he would be driving around. Zoom, zoom.
My father's very, and I'm sure my siblings, my cousins would say that he's very thrifty. Other people would say he's kuripot and all that.
He doesn't like to spend money, even though he can afford it. He will not splurge on fancy things. He will not splurge on fancy shoes. No, he's been like that all his life. I never seen him in any fancy Gucci except the one bought by Lance. And he never buy anything fancy himself.
He made me pay for his beer. We went to a wedding in Intramuros, so we got locked out. He said, boy, they won't let us in anymore because they closed the doors, right? So I said, let's just order beer and wait for them outside. So he said, sige, I'll buy the first round, you buy the second round. I said, sige na nga.
Every year when he traveled with his family, I'm the only outsider invited, me and my wife. I feel honored, but I have to pay for my own fare, because he will send me the bill.
There are times I would see him also at the food court, sampling food from the stalls. And I couldn't forget it because he asked if I had money. He said he forgot his wallet. And then the bodyguard said, no, Mr. John, it's okay. I'll be the one to pay for it. And I'll just get from Lina, his secretary. So
he's very generous to his people around him. When we go out to have meals, they make sure they are taken care of as well. And when we travel, they give them extra allowances. He gave all his pocket money because he has no use for it. We arrange everything for him. His pocket money is only for buying ice cream. He cannot refuse an ice cream. If the wife is with him, he cannot have more than one.
You know, when I was a child, you would not really see the big things. You just go to his office and he had this cabinet full of pasalubong. He had perfume, he had chocolates, he had candies, he had all sorts of knickknacks. And then when an employee would come to the office and say, "Wait, I have something for you." He'll open the cabinet, he'll just get something. "This is for you. I bought it in the US, I bought it in Europe." He'll just give it randomly because he really appreciated the employee. And so he'd always come home with a maleta of pasalubong. Did he give me pasalubong? He'd always, oh my gosh, what a question.
So his acts of generosity were natural or spontaneous. It's not really planned. My dad would never remember anyone's birthday. He won't even celebrate his own birthdays. But I do know when he was younger, when he made his first ₱1,000,000 or so, one of the first things he did was he helped endow the old Sacred Heart School in Cebu. No? Obviously, he's a well-off man, but his own needs were quite simple. His priorities were really his family, his quest for new knowledge, his reading. When we were growing up, every week he would bring us to the old Unimart to have a spaghetti, but also that's one of the bookstores there, not to buy books. So I'm not sure if that's an act of generosity or just an act of doing something together as a family, while also supporting something he enjoyed and felt we should enjoy, which was reading or continuing quest for learning, right?
He's very generous for education. Well, a good example is he financed my education overseas. At that time, he was just a fairly modest businessman. For a modest businessman who needs every peso so that he can grow his business. And even after I finished 4 years, I stay another year for master's degree. He has no questions asked, just stay. That's generosity, yeah.
He's very caring. He invited me to lunch on Saturdays. Every Saturdays when he's in town. So wherever I am, I have to fly back to serve lunch with him because otherwise he would ask me a lot of questions. Where I have been, who I have been with, why am I going there, how long did I stay there, where did I stay? According to his wife, he spends more time with me than the wife. Every time we have a picture taken, he will hold me or hold some part of me, or I'll be sitting on the armrest. That was the most memorable. I thought it's worth it.
When my mother was fighting with her cancer of the colon, that is spread out, and John is constantly bringing her to San Francisco for checkup and cure. There was one time I was visiting San Francisco. My mother was suddenly spitting blood. John, that time, I think, is already 60 plus because our apartment is on the 3rd floor. There is no elevator. I saw him in a moment. He just picked up my mother and ran him down 3 stairs, down to the ground floor, put her in the car, and went to the hospital. It's just amazing, the devotion to my mother. I oftentimes play back that memory. When she was 13, promising my mother that she would take care of the family.
I never saw him cry. I don't know, maybe he cried in his room, but I never saw him cry even when his mom died. You know, he would look at the good side of things and said, you know, she died at the age when people are already dying. He would always try to look at the better side of things. He would never regret. He would, yeah.
The most stressed I've seen him was when Robina was kidnapped. No? But when he's stressed, he doesn't. He'll soldier on. He'll take it. He won't take it out to anyone else. But you could see he was stressed. But he would lose weight. His appetite would diminish, be a little bit more quiet than normal. But you know that at that point he's stressed, right?
You know, when he was stressed, we didn't know that he was stressed. That's how he was able to keep those things. To be honest, his relationship with the older kids, Lance and Rubino, was very different from his relationship with the 4 kids. I guess the 2 older kids were more exposed to him as they were growing up. When he was stressed, we did not see it. The most I've seen him stressed was when I think Rubino was kidnapped. I would see him pacing, But, he knew how to compartmentalize, really. When he got home, he was able to turn it off.
He's not somebody who talks a lot. You have to connect him on many levels. He only interested sometimes in talking about history, about science, about geopolitics, macroeconomic trends, where the world is going, where the economy is going. But he loves history, especially ancient history, archaeology. Those things he talks a lot. Once you're in that mood, he can talk. But emotional, personal, he has very few words. He only show it by actions.
Nung una po talaga, hindi ako familiar sa Gokongwei. Alam ko lang na may Robinson, Ministop. Alam ko lang po na may mga ganyang businesses. Pero hindi ko po alam na Gokongwei po lang pagmamayari niya.
Mr. John Gokongwei, naririnig ko lang po siya actually sa mga TV, ganyan. Naririnig ko lang siya dati, dun nga din sa co-teacher ko na he is a Gokongwei scholar.
Nung nalaman ko nga po na ang scholarship na nag-offer sa akin is Gokongwei, grabe po yung naramdaman ko. Parang sobrang laking tiwala po nung binigay nila sa akin.
Maraming employees, dun sila nagsimula ng career hanggang retirement nila. Kinakukwento sa akin yung manager ko, pag holiday daw or December, napunta si Sir John doon kahit yung hindi na siya doon nag-office. Napunta siya doon sa building namin, yung dating starch plant na isa sa mga unang company niya. Pinagmamasdan lang daw niya. Nagre-reflect lang sa akin na kahit saan ka mapunta, babalik at babalik ka kung saan ka dati.
To be honest po, yung Gokongwei sa akin, parang siguro I can speak of anyone else na pag Gokongwei group, Robinsons lang po talaga yung una kong maiisip. And I never thought na meron po silang ganitong program na talagang ito-touch po yung lives ng mga scholars niya po. I never knew before entering GBF na may ganitong klaseng advocacy po si Gokongwei Group.
Mahirap. Umabot din po kami sa time na we have to look for a family para magbigay po sa amin ng pagkain. Our father left us when he went abroad.
Nakikita ko na po yung kalagayan ng mga magulang ko. Halos araw-araw naghahanap ng kung saan kukuha ng pangkain namin. Si Papa po naman ay kulang yung 24 hours ng pagtatrabaho. Naalala ko po noon 2 days. Gising si Papa, walang tulugan, tinatapos niya po yung gawa niya. Para lang po masustentuhan kami. Siya lang po yung pinaka-provider namin. Sabi ko sa sarili ko, alam kong kaya kong gawin kaya kong tumulong. Talagang ginrab ko na yung opportunity ng Scholar ni Juan. And hanggang ngayon po, ang bigat po sa akin na nakikita sila nahihirapan. Sobrang laking sakripisyo na po na ginawa sa akin ng mga magulang ko sa amin. Panahon na po para bumawi.
My brother was diagnosed with acute myeloid leukemia. It's a rare type of blood cancer. Dahil po dito, talagang lumobo po yung expenses ng family po namin sa pagpapagamot, sa pagpapa-hospital, sa mga chemo and all other medications. So, nung lumapit po si GBF, nakita ko po rin yun as a sign of hope na kakayanin ko, ganun, na mayroong aalalay sa akin all the way. I also take my education seriously. So, sa tulong po ng GBF, naigapang naman po natin.
Before, back when I was high school, elementary, nagtitinda ako ng banana Q. Nangangarap lang ako maging engineer. Mahirap siya kasi financially hindi naman ganun ka-capable yung family ko. Then, 3rd year din ako, namatay yung father ko.
Literally, I grew up in a school kasi nanay ko teacher din po. My motivation for everyday sa teaching ko is of course yung mga bata. Kasi kung di ako papasok, paano sila matututo? So kung walang teacher, walang magtutulong sa mga bata to build their knowledge, to build the concepts, the knowledge, and paano nila ma-apply yon on their day-to-day living. As a teacher, hindi lang transmitting, building knowledge, constructing knowledge sa mga bata. We are also playing the role as their second parents. And minsan social worker din kasi tumutulong din kami sa pag-aasikaso ng mga scholarships nila, lalo na yung mga galing sa government. And Minsan, sponsor na rin. Kasi minsan, we are giving them money. Lalo kapag alam namin yung bata na hindi talaga kayang pumasok or hindi magawa yung project dahil wala siyang pera, hindi pa siya sumasahod or hindi pa siya nabibigyan ng allowance ng parents niya.
When you're 15, you're in a war, you either starve or you work. Life was difficult, food was hard, but you have to work. And people still do business because they have to survive. And my business was buying a second-hand bicycle. I think it cost me maybe 100 or 50 pesos. Put a box in the back, buy textiles, candles and all that, bring it to the small town to sell, and then come back at 6 o'clock. I did that about 2 times a week or 3 times a week. Selling a bicycle is, I think you only sell about 200-300 a day and make about 10, 20, 30 pesos. At that time, a car was 2,000 pesos. A kilo of pork was about 40. But you can survive with 2 pesos.
I would hear the bicycle story many, many times.
Oh, so many times. I can't even count the number of times I heard it. But he'd make cuento and other people will make cuento.
My dad was a storyteller. No? When we were growing up, he would recount the days. During my time, things were much tougher than they were now. My father passed away and, I had to go around in a bicycle, etc., etc.
I love the bicycle story because I love thinking of my father as a tween riding a bike filled with soap candles and then setting up a stall in a market, running around, trying to sell things with people so much older than him, competing with people so much older than him.
He would bring whatever he can bring in the bicycle to the market, and when it's done, when it's sold, then he go home. He doesn't want to carry back to the inventory or to the bodega. He bought a bicycle in Shanghai. Of course, now we won't let him ride the bike. He tried to ride the bike. I said, no.
When I was 13 years old, I was doing that, but I was doing that with my sisters. We were playing house and market, but he was doing it in real life.
Well, to me, it's never about just the bicycle. To me, it's when my father passed away with 6 children, 13 years to 6 months, and my mother, as a young widow, 30, 31, he told himself, I am the head of the family now. I want to make sure the whole family is okay. That, to me, is the decisive moment. There was the compass, and there is the willpower and the dream and the passion to make that happen. The bicycle, the batel, these are just conveyances, channels of achieving that decision.
I never thought of giving up. In fact, whenever times got tough, I got tougher, It built me up. I think the training I had the last 4 years of the Japanese occupation, that was the thing that really helped me build up my business career first. The 4 years there with the bicycle and then a small store. There's no connections whatsoever. You just use your wits and your sweat. I'm thrifty on my personal thing, but I gave 500 million to the schools during the last 7 years. I don't spend that. I could spend that on my own pressure, but instead I give it back to the community. I eat what I want, I travel where I want, but if they say I'm crippled and I have to give away 500 million pesos, I don't know who has given out 500 in the Philippines. I don't know of anybody else who's given 500 million.
Nung panahon pong yun, naghahanap po talaga ako ng trabaho kasi nga po, parang nawala na po ako ng pag-asang makapag-college. Ang inisip ko na lang po is magtrabaho. Nag-search po ako sa Facebook sa Public Employment Service Office ng Binyan and nakita ko po yung Scholar ni Juan program. Noong una medyo hesitant po ako kung i-grab ko ba kasi nga po 1 year technical training bago ka makapagtrabaho sa URC. Pero ayun po, ginrab ko yung opportunity kasi sabi ko long-term decision to.
The original plan was, when I passed the board examination, dapat itutuloy ko siya sa physician. Kaso, I have 2 younger sisters. What if mas malalong mahirapan? So yun, nag-apply po ako for the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation.
3rd year din ako, namatay yung father ko. Then, after a year, doon ako na-interview ni GBF. Yun, laking opportunity yun sa akin para makaka-catch up ako kasi medyo nawawala na ako ng motivation. Struggle na financially, emotionally, tapos sobrang hirap pa sa school. Never ko naisip na makakapasok ako sa scholarship. I'm just an average student, pero nagsusumikap para sa buhay. Nagdadalawang isip ako kung karapat-dapat ba ako. Marami rin kami nag-apply, then dadalawa lang kami sa course namin na nakuha during that time. Then, after GBF na maging scholar ako, di lang nila ako natulungan. Financially, they also helped me na maboost yung confidence ko, na mamotivate ako. Kasi they gave me assurance na after I graduated, magkakatrabaho ka sa kanila.
Nahanap po ako ng GBF. Second year college po ako. I was part of the UP School of Statistics Student Council. And I really feel so grateful and honored po sa GBF dahil na-recognize po nila na I have this potential sa larangan po ng STEM. Siguro po one thing that they saw in me ay yung eagerness ko po and yung hunger ko po na matuto in this field. I think it has well reflected po in my academic performance. Sa awa po ng Diyos and sa tulong po ng GBF and all the people behind this is nakapagtapos naman po tayo ng cum laude po.
Before ako pumunta doon sa GBF, 1 week po yung pagitan. Kaya lang po, mas napaaga. Tinawagan po si mama. Yun nga po, nakapasa ako. And nung una po talaga, parang hindi makapaniwala si mama. Kasi nga po, inisip ni mama talaga is wala na. Parang magagaya na po ako sa iba kong kapatid na hindi nakapagtuloy din. Diretso trabaho na gano'n. Parang ang inisip po ni mama nun is wala na akong pag-asa din, halos gano'n po.
We struggled a lot financially. So instead po kasi na parang i-feel namin yung pain, ginawa po namin na like stepping stone or a foundation for us to improve kami pong magkakapatid.
Pagka-uwi ko nung Saturday, doon ko sinabi sa nanay at ate ko kasi ate ko yung nagpapaaral sa akin. Sinabi ko sa kanila, tapos yun, sobrang saya rin nila, parang unexpected nga. Hindi nila alam na nag-apply ako. Nung natanggap ako, doon lang nila nalaman. Kaya yung saya, parang sobrang sarap sa pakiramdam.
Sakto nag-open na din bigla yung Gokongwei, yung GBF, yung Teach STEM Scholar. So I tried my luck and luckily, yun, nakapasa ako. I believe po din sa vision ng GBF, which is building the future through education. Of course, without education, people will not be well-informed on what is happening. And kaya din tayo nakakagawa ng mga wrong decisions in life because we are not well-informed. So how are we going to be well-informed? We are going to be well-informed through the quality education that we get from quality teachers.
It's always good to remember the values and the stories that bring us to this point. I mean, kids do as what their parents do, not what they say. And I can see really that both my mom and my dad were totally, they're committed to each other. They were willing to sacrifice things for the long term. They lived very simply. My mom was committed to helping him and really keeping the whole family happy and whole. I guess they were a very good combination.
My parents showed their love by being around. They were there for dinner every night. We would spend our time with them after dinner. You know, we would just watch TV in the room together. Both of them were reading books or newspapers. I think the fact that we were just hanging around together all the time, we would talk a lot about business as we got older. But I think it was very common the way that we were raised. But the fact that they were there, you know, I think that was enough for us. We felt secure, I think, and that was important.
In the beginning, we worked together as a family. Ever since my father passed away, John, the eldest, promised himself and to our mother that he wanted to make sure the family will be together and will be financially safe. And we worked our lifetime together to build up the business. In the 1990s, 1993, he'll be 67. That's the time we were going to list our holding company called JG Summit. Before that, we were Universal Robina, CFC, Robinson Land. But that year, we consolidated everything and formed the JG Summit Group, and we listed as a public company. Well, to set up a foundation that's all for education, and a company of this size where we hire almost close to 100,000 people. And more than anything else, it's that it's sustainable. I have seen the great things Lance and his cousins and his professional managers, the whole team, they are doing great things. I think they are going to improve the company even more. They have bring the group now even to a much more formalized, institutionalized way of achieving further growth. I have no doubt that Lance will bring it to even greater heights in the next 33 years when it will be century, 100 years anniversary. I think Mr. John's biggest legacy is to build, enable a organization, both the company and the foundation, that can sustain and last, that will redound to the benefit of the people and also the country.
Those are his three legacies. It's his family, it's his business, and it's the foundation, right? So those are the three legs of his stool, right? No, I share exactly the same values as my father. And I view his legacy as one worth emulating. And for me, it's really, how do I build upon all these gifts that have been shared with me? You know? But also, of course, this heavy responsibility and accountability. But it's something I look forward to.
I remember when I really got busy at work, I told Lance, I really have no more time to handle the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation. It's just, I'm so busy with other things. Can you give it to someone who will be more responsible and who will love it more? And then he said, you know, Liza, think about it. In the end, this is what will matter. After all is said and done, it's the foundation that will matter. So I thought about it, and I realized what he said was true. It's really valuable. It's valuable to me. I think it's valuable to the company. It ties what the employees do to helping the country. And in helping the country, they feel very good. So it goes back to them working hard for the company. But also, I think it binds us as a family. I hope all the generations, they'll realize that they were given such a gift, not only the business, but also the foundation. I hope it will remind them of what their fathers built. You know, I think he was happiest when he was building something. Whether it was business or a philanthropy, for as long as he knew he was building something of value, I think he was happy.
The GBF's trust is education. It's very important, a good cause. It goes back to that thinking that you want to teach them how to fish instead of just begging for fish. It's something that will be meaningful moving forward.
GVF is really important in my life because it changed me. It changed the way I see things, how I see the future. It helped me build the future that I want. GBF is important because of the way they are helping in building the Philippine economy.
He wanted the Philippines to be a Philippines that was as progressive as the rest of the other countries he saw around us. After the Second World War, we were the second richest country in Asia, after Japan. Korea was poorer than us, Thailand, Malaysia, especially Singapore, China, where he recalled it being really poor at that time. And then he saw that they were all developing beyond the Philippines. So he just felt the Philippines had the capacity to do that. And there were two things I think he felt that were needed. One is, some entrepreneurship. And the second thing is he saw that the Philippines, we were very strong in the services, but we were really lagging behind in manufacturing. So he said he wanted to really invest in businesses like infrastructure or manufacturing, which would really form an industrial base, which he thought would provide the Philippines a more balanced economy beyond services.
kailangan natin ng napakaraming philanthropies katulad ni Sir John Gokongwei. Being a third world country, napakarami nating kababayan na naghihirap, kulang sa oportunidad. Pero dahil sa ginagawa ni Sir John, maraming kabataan na natutulungan, which is ayun din yung sinasabi nga ni Jose Rizal na ang kabataan ng pag-asa ng bayan.
Of course, we definitely need more leaders like him. It's something you don't get taught at school. His skills, his ability to dream, his ability to have a vision, it's really unparalleled. You have to witness it in action to get inspired. You know, in this day and age where creativity or entrepreneurship is being challenged by the economic conditions of the world, it would be refreshing to have more Mr. Johns, right? And that's how the economy of the country can recover, perhaps. He was always very conscious about the multiplier effect of his actions on the economy.
I benefited sa JBF program, yung Teach STEM Scholar in particular. Una, it opened me a lot of opportunities to share my expertise and to share my knowledge to people. And second, nag-open din siya ng opportunities to my students. Kasi kung hindi ko alam, how will they know? If it weren't for GBF, if it weren't for Gokongwei, malamang is I cannot provide to support my education further.
Personally po, mas lalo ko pong na-appreciate yung field ko po. Especially in these times where misinformation is very rampant na, no? I want to take part in promoting an evidence-based and data-driven society.
We have several GBF beneficiaries already at the petrochemical plant. Most of them are engineers, so they will be in different field and operations-related activities for the plant.
A lot of the graduates of the technical school, for example, are working in our plants. Some of the scholars are working in different parts of the conglomerate. I believe that 2 of them work in corporate services. We're very excited to hire more of these scholars to work for us.
Siguro po, kung hindi ko na-grab yung GBF, ING, baka po hindi pa rin po ako nakapagtuloy ng college. Baka po hanggang ngayon, nag-iipon pa rin ako para makapagkolehiyo. And baka po hanggang ngayon, dagdag pasanin pa rin po ako sa magulang ko. Marami pong bagay yung nagbago sa akin dahil po sa GBF. Wala, nakakatulong ako sa magulang ko, nakakabili ako ng gadget na gusto ko. Nakapag-enroll po ako ng college, ako yung nagbabayad ng tuition. Sobrang laking tulong po talaga ng GBF Scholar ni Juan sa naging buhay ko.
I've heard a lot of stories with regards to the Gokongwei siblings. I don't think anyone wouldn't want to get involved with such names because their name Gokongwei really embodies hope, integrity, and reliability.
Same nang nararamdaman ko kasi yun nga, si Sir John, alam ko, nagsimula rin sa maliit. Being a small trader in Cebu. And ako, nagsimula ako sa pagiging banana queue vendor. And ngayon, unti-unti nang nagbibuild ng career. Na-inspire ako na kung kaya niya, kaya ko rin. Hindi malabong kung ano yung narating niya is kaya ko rin ratingin.
His legacy to his nuclear family is fantastic. His great children, they work hard, they're humble, they're grounded. They also have extremely good values. To the siblings and their families, I think he's also looked upon as a patriot who have set good examples of good values, ability to do great things, to take risks, the commitment for education, to be productive, a company that would be helping the community and the country, where everybody have a chance who want to work and work together to build up something they can all be proud of.
During the war, I was pedaling my bicycle, and then after the war, 1946, I saw the big companies like Ayala and San Miguel were already very, very big. I said, my God, how do I reach that height, you know? So I tried, and then I think we've hit that height.
I'm James Go. I'm the youngest brother of Mr. John Gokongwei, and I'm the chairman of the JG Summit Group. I have been working with the company starting 1964 up to now. This year is my 60th year.
I'm Lance Gokongwei. I'm the Chief Executive of JG Summit and Chairman of Robinson's Retail. Only son and second child of John and Elizabeth Gokongwei.
I am Robina Gokongwei. My baptismal name is Joan, which comes from John. I'm President and CEO of Robinson's Retail Holdings, Inc., and I'm the eldest in a brood of 6.
My name is Liza Gokongwei Cheng, and I hold 3 roles for the group. I am the Senior Vice President for Digital Transformation and Corporate Services. I am the President of Summit Media, and I am also the General Manager of the Gokongwei Brothers Foundation. I am the 3rd in the family.
I'm Patrick Go. I'm assigned with the Petrochemical Group, so I'm officially the President and CEO of JD Summit Olefins Corporation.
I am Frederick Digo. I am a nephew of Mr. John. I run the real estate businesses of the Gokongwei Group. The most known among them would be Robinson's Land Corporation.
My name is Tony Go. I'm a good friend of Mr. Jan Gokongwei. Our relationship started when our family bought his bank. And when we sold the bank, I didn't sell it to him. That's how we became friends.
I am Carl Angelo B. Lorenzo, a registered pharmacist and a store head of Southstar Drug Incorporated.
Ako po si John Marvin Avier, Scholar ni Juan Batch 13. Ako po ay kasalukuyan ngayon nagtatrabaho sa URC San Pedro Plant 1, and ako po ay isang packaging operator, and gumraduate po ako sa Scholar ni Juan last 2021 po.
My name is Mark Nilay Asturias. I'm 24 years old, currently living at Imus, Cavite. So kasalukuyan nagtatrabaho ako sa Universal Rubina Corporation as project engineer, where I handled mechanical projects for extension, innovations, and improvements. I'm a GBF STEM Scholar alumni.
I am Camille Madarang. I am an Asset Liability Management Analyst of the Enterprise Risk Management Group of the Robinsons Bank Corporation, and I am a scholarship recipient of the GBF STEM Scholarship for Excellence.
I am Anthony F. Sagun, Special Science Teacher 1 and a very proud Teach STEM Scholar.
I help our family recover its position in the community, helping some schools. I help a little bit in improving the economy of the country and providing jobs to 50,000 families. You know, it's not too bad.
Dad.